Hello everybody, thank you so much for being here today. In this video, I will explain why the concept of tax residency is so important. In fact, I would argue that where your tax residency is established will determine the whole outcome of your tax strategy. So, what is tax residency? Tax residency simply means that wherever you acquire tax residency, in whichever country that may be around the world, those tax law rules of that exact country will apply to your circumstances. That means if you're a tax resident of Canada, then the Canadian tax law rules will apply to you. If you're a tax resident of Germany, then the German tax law rules will apply to you. And if we take that a little bit further, that also means if you become a tax resident of Canada, then you will be paying personal taxes on the current personal tax rate in Canada. And if you become a tax resident of Germany, then you will pay personal taxes on whatever the current tax rate is within Germany. And if we extend the concept even further and include all the tax law rules that are in place within one country, then we could also extend that to, for example, double taxing agreements. Meaning, if you become a tax resident of Canada, then all the double taxing agreements that Canada has in place with other countries around the world can and will apply to you. And if you're a tax resident of Germany, then all the double taxing agreements that Germany has established with other countries, and if you happen to be within or have a linkage to one of those other countries, then those double taxing agreements are likely to apply to you. So if you have tax residency within one country that's got more developed and evolved tax laws, then those will all apply to you. And if you're a tax resident of a country that maybe doesn't have that far of an evolved tax laws rules in place, then you have less rules that will apply to you. So another reason why tax residency is so important is because a lot of people get it confused with legal residency. It's important to distinguish those two things because they're a completely separate thing. So tax residency comes from the tax laws, and legal residency comes from immigration laws, and they do not really work together, as they sometimes do, but oftentimes they don't. So that means you can be a tax resident of a country yet not be a legal resident of it, meaning you might have been spending a lot of time within one country and fallen, without even you maybe noticing, within the tax residency rules, making you a tax resident of that country, which would mean all of the tax law rules of the country will apply to you, yet you might not even have a legal residency there, you might not be on a valid visa there, you might not have a permanent visa. That's possible, and that happens to people. And the other way around also works. Like, you might have a valid legal residency somewhere, meaning you're on a permanent visa, you've got a valid visa, but yet you don't fall within tax residency, which then means the tax law rules of that country do not apply to you. And that happens sometimes if people are moving around a lot, if they have established tax residency somewhere else and have got linkages to other countries or to their home countries. So keep those two things definitely separate because they are very different. And that also brings me to another point, which is the 183-day rule. I have talked previously about it. The 183-day rule states that if you stay for 6 months or longer within one country, you will fall within the tax residency of that country, meaning all of the tax law rules within that country will be applicable to you. Now, the 183-day rules is kind of a rule of thumb. it's not exactly what's written in the law, so that's why I wouldn't recommend just living off of that rule of thumb. But it's a good sort of estimate to have in your head that you shouldn't be staying longer than 6 months in one place if you don't want to fall within the tax residency, if you don't want to acquire tax residency, is what we say, and if you don't want to fall within the taxing laws of that country. But with saying that, there are countries where you can acquire tax residency with even just having stayed 2 months there, or even less, or just having economical ties in place. So don't really live off that 183-day rules, and that's why I'm bringing it up. Because tax residency is often linked to 183-day rules, but really it doesn't quite work that way, and there are many factors that come into play when determining tax residency, which is why it's important to have a look at the laws and really establish whether you've got or you don't have tax residency in one country. Now, another reason why tax residency is so important is, as I've said at the beginning, the tax law rules within that country will apply to you. And some countries have really well developed tax rules, meaning they want to make sure that you pay taxes within the country, even if you've left, and whatever ties you've got with the countries, they will want to pull you back into the tax residency so that their tax rules apply to you. And with most well-developed economies, they have established really far-reaching rules, such as CFC rules, meaning corporate foreign company rules, or management and control rules, which apply mostly to your company. So that's how far-reaching the personal tax residency can go, and which is why it's so important. So it means even though you've got a company incorporated overseas, if you've got tax residency within a country that's got quite well established and far-reaching tax law rules, then your home country, or whatever you've got tax residency set up, might be able to pull back your overseas incorporated company into the tax residency country and apply the tax rates of that country and not of where it's incorporated. So really that means that it doesn't even matter where you incorporate the company if you acquire tax residency in a country that's got far-reaching and well-established, well-extended tax law rules in place that apply things such as CFC rules, management and control rules, permanent establishment rules. So that's the risk that you run into if you don't think about your personal tax residency and the consequences that having a tax residency within a well-established economy and within a country that's got far-reaching tax rules will have on your whole structure, being your company that's maybe incorporated overseas and all of your wealth, because all of that country's tax rules will apply to your situation, and usually it's worldwide income and assets. So I hope that made sense, and I hope I've made it clear why tax residency is so important within your tax strategy. If you've got any questions left, please feel free to message me, DM me on info@wandererswealth.com. Thank you so much for your time.